Ang ina. Putang ina, Pasko na. Kainis. Sosyaling kayo.
Sino? Dad,
Po.
may kanin na ito sa ulam.
Opo.
Okay, pa dyan. Okay, pa dyan. Tapos na. sugat ko.
Hindi yung gagawin mo kaysa naman sa eh, si Mingming. Sino ba kasama mo? Ba't ang dami dahil?
Ha? Kami yung cup.
Ninong cup.
Bye.
Mahalagang paalala, ang Immunomax at Immunomax Forte ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamitin panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Older people have sex, but what makes for people who have more satisfaction with their sex life as they age? I'm Dr. Rina Malik, urologist and pelvic surgeon, and today I'm going to talk about what things can affect your sex life as you age and what might be a predictor of having more satisfaction in your sex life when you're older. If you're new here, I make videos every Monday and Friday covering urologic health, bladder health, sexual health, and so much more. Make sure if you like what you see, you subscribe and share this channel with your friends. People over the age of 65 who are more satisfied with their sex life, they actually age more successfully and they tend to have a better well-being overall. So having a good sex life is linked to so many other positive factors. So how do we figure out what factors are maybe correlated with having a better sex life? Well, a German study looked at people over the course of several years. They basically took a sample that was representative of their population in the years of 2002, 2008, and 2011, and they sent them surveys to understand how satisfied they were with their sex life, as well as a number of other factors. They then divided the participants into two groups: middle age, which is between the ages of 40 and 64, and older age, above 65. In each of the waves, they had somewhere between 3,500 participants to over 5,000. So it's not a small number of people they analyzed. And they compared a number of different things. And the things that really stood out to me as being different were obviously people who were older had a higher number of illnesses. There was really no difference in the rates of depression in both groups, but interestingly, when they asked the importance of sexuality or intimacy on a range of 1 to 7, the groups were about a 1-point difference. Now, what does that really mean? It's unclear, but when you look at statistics, they found that it was significantly different, meaning that people who are above 65 tended to find intimacy and sexuality as less important than those in middle age. Not surprisingly, cognitive function tended to decrease as people aged, and also the number of important people they remained in regular contact with tended to decrease as well. The major thing that they found was that satisfaction with sex life did decrease as people aged. So when they looked at all these different factors, what was associated with being less likely to be satisfied with your sex life after the age of 65? So it's not surprising to me that people who either rated their health as poor or had more illnesses or were depressed were less likely to be satisfied. But there's three other interesting factors that came out of this. So one is if you are lonely, you're more likely to have less satisfaction with your sex life. And that makes sense, but I think this is a real issue in the aging population. Many people are getting more and more lonely. We live so much in a silo now. Everyone's in their phones. So I think if you are getting to that age, or if you have family that is aging, please encourage them to stay in touch with their family and friends, because it can have a dramatic impact on their health. Also, people who found sexuality more important were more likely to have satisfaction. And I think that makes sense. But of course, if you prioritize your sexual health, then it's more likely that you're going to be satisfied with it, or you're going to try to find ways to be satisfied with it. And the last thing was the most interesting to me, was that women were less likely to be satisfied with their sexual health. And I think that's because, women go through a lot of changes after menopause, and all of those changes can sometimes cause a lot of discomfort and dryness and loss of libido that can all contribute to just not having a great desire or enjoyment when you're having sexual activity. If you're a woman or you're partnered with a woman who's above the age of 65, encourage them to go see a urologist or gynecologist to talk about these symptoms, because there's so much we can offer them, and there's so many things that we can improve their libido with, that we can improve their discomfort with. And so I'm happy to talk more about those. If you'd like to learn more, please comment below, and I'm happy to make a video more about those things. Overall, my takeaway from this study is that sexual well-being is so important. Just because you're above 65 doesn't mean that sex isn't important anymore. And so I think it's important to prioritize these issues, make sure you're living the best life you can, stay as healthy as you can. So invest in your health now. Whether you're young or whether you're aging, it's really important to take that time to invest not only in your health with more physical activity, a better diet, but also making sure you stay connected with the people that are important to you and avoid loneliness. I realize this can be very difficult for men, specifically because they don't connect with other men the way women connect with other women. It can be as simple as sending your friends a quick text saying, "Hey, how are you? I'm thinking of you." And that helps keep you bonded and makes you feel connected. I hope you guys found this interesting, and as always, remember to take care of yourself because you're worth it.
You've got the idea. GoDaddy has the domain to make it happen. Find your domain at GoDaddy.com.
Araw po, Doc Willie, Doc Lisa. I think gusto tong topic ng mga followers natin, lampas 40 years old, lalo na sa mga lampas 50 years old. Marami akong followers eh. Siguro nahiya kayo magtanong, pero sa akin napakahalaga yung relasyon, pagtatalik at sex sa mag-partner, sa mag-asawa. Tuloy pa ba? Lampas 50, lampas 60? Meron kasi tayong maling paniniwala, pati kultura natin. Pag matanda na, wala na dapat, wala ng sex yan dapat, magsama na lang kayo, o kasi hindi maganda, o iba sasabihin, nakakadiri, gano'n. Hindi po. May benefit sa katawan natin, yung tuloy-tuloy, lalo na sa mag-asawa, mag-partner, dapat tuloy-tuloy lang yung intimate relationship ninyo kahit anong edad. Ito po, Oo nga, nagbabago yung katawan natin. Mas kulubot siya, di ba? At yung kultura natin, medyo hindi maganda ang tingin. Lalo na pag may edad na, sasabihin, bakit pa kulubot na, nag-holding hands pa. Hindi po maganda yon kasi lahat naman tayo edad eh. Nasa isip lang natin yan. Dapat confident pa rin. Dapat sexy pa rin na pakiramdam mo. Lalaki, babae, kahit malakit yan, kahit kulubot, kahit may edad. Okay? Hindi naman nagbabago yung needs ng katawan eh, di ba? Pwede magiging mas madalang, pero may tulong pa rin. Ito po, Ang sexual interest, magugulat kayo kahit anong edad. Edad 80, edad 90, lalo na sa mga lalaki, gusto pa rin May benepisyo pa rin sa kanila. Hindi mo pwede itigil May emotional benefit, physical benefit, bawas stress. Yung mga lalaki lang, mas sexually active lang kumpara sa babae, lalo na sa mga may edad na. Pero parehong may kailangan. Marami pong benepisyo ang relationship, lalo na sa mag-asawa, sa may partner. Kung walang partner, wala. Itong video hindi para sa inyo. Para to sa pag nagkaroon na kayo ng partner. Hindi naman dapat maghanap ng partner lang para makuha tong benepisyo. Kasi kung hindi mo naman mahal, hindi mo naman kakilala, one night stand, walang benefit doon Ang benefit doon talaga yung, hindi lang physical, yung alam mong mahal ka nung tao. Alam mong hindi ka papatayin, tutulungan ka, liligtas ka. Nandun yun Love, tapos yung physical, dagdag lang yun. So, emotional benefit sa mag-partner, happiness, Doc Lisa, pakita natin. Bawas stress, yan. Self-image mo, mas confident ka. Siyempre, meron kang relationship na mahal ka nung tao. Intimacy, feeling close. Sa physical, may benefit din po. Mga kirot-kirot sa katawan, nagkakaedad, mga arthritis. Subukan nyo, mawawala yung pain. Nababawasan yung kirot ng mga 30-50%
Sana meron ako
pag
dito,
nagtatalik o
listener.
nagiging close. Yan, lalakas yung katawan, immune system. Basta sa tamang pagtatalik lang, huwag sobrang pagod, yung tamang-tama lang, may tulong sa puso, improves fitness, para siyang exercise para pong exercise. So may benefit siya any age. Ito, ulitin natin, bawas stress, pampatulog, good for the heart, pampalakas ng immune system, pampatalino, good for the brain naman. Ito po, bilang cardiologist kasi, lagi po ito tinatanong sa akin, sex after a heart attack. Doc, syempre, pasyente ko, karamihan heart attack. Doc, pwede pa ba ulit? Kailan pwede? Normally, 6 weeks. Ang binibigay nating panahon, mga 6 weeks after a heart attack, pwede na. Pwede yung itetest muna, ipapatreadmill test muna natin. Yun talagang ginagawa ng doktor, ipapatakbuhin, may ECG. Pag nakita okay na yung puso, pwede na makipagtalik. Pero alam naman natin, hindi lahat kaya magpa-check at mahal. Ngayon, kung wala tayong pera, may shortcut. Pwede ba kayo umakyat ng 2 palapag? 2 floors, kaya nyo ba umakyat ng MRT, LRT na walang hingal? Pag akyat mo, hindi yung hapo na hapo. Kung after a heart attack o after a stroke o anong malalang sakit, kung nakaakyat ka ng 2 palapag na hindi ka hinihingal, pwede na sa sex, pwede na magtalik. Yun ang pinaka-testing natin. Okay? Ito po, 4 to 6 weeks. Pag na-bypass, minsan up to 2 months bago makaka-resume. Ito po, pwede naman gawing mas hindi pagod ang gagawin. Huwag yung mas, alam niyo naman yung pagod at hindi pagod, di ba? O po naman yung dikit-dikit lang muna. At meron mga tips, pakita natin, Doc Lisa. Dapat, bago magtalik, well-rested po kayo. Nakapahinga. Tapos, maganda yung kwarto, huwag mainit, huwag malamig, matahimik. Baka kasi medyo mas mahina na ngayon Hindi katulad dati, mabilis, di ba? Mabilis ganahan. Ngayon, siyempre dapat tahimik, walang magulo, pwede palagyan ng music, di ba? Huwag magtalik pagkatapos kumain. Maghintay mo ng mga 2 hours. Kung busog, hindi rin po. Hirap din po kung busog Iwas din sa alak, hindi maganda na lasing. Diba? Mas maganda right mind po kayo. So ito po, yan. Limit sa kape, healthy lifestyle, mag-exercise. Kita natin Bukod dito, meron pa tayong mga tips para hindi kayo magkasakit. Marami nagkaka-UTI Marami hindi naghuhugas, nagkaka-infection sa ihi. Basta sabihin, ba't ang dalas ko magka-UTI? Baka dahil dun sa pagtatalik. So, ang gagawin natin, bago at pagkatapos magtalik, dapat maghuhugas. Lalaki at babae. Bago magtalik, syempre, para hindi ka makapasa ng infection. After magtalik, para hindi ka magka-UTI, syempre, may matitira konting mga
Hi, netizens! Welcome to SM Store! Here
dumi doon sa daanan sa daanan nung natin, private part. So pag inihi mo, pag marami inihi mo, makikita mo mas malabo yung ihi. Ibig sabihin, nilalabas mo yung mga dumi. So uminom ng maraming tubig, mag-toothbrush, uminom ng maraming tubig, pwede kayo mag-gargle ng mouthwash, di ba? So, So, inom ng marami para umihi ng marami bago matulog. Para hindi magka-UTI. Kundi yung bakterya aakyat. Yan. Hindi lang doon sa puwerta, pati sa puwet. Hugas din. Yan. Huwag pipigilan ang ihi. Yan. Mahalaga. Bakit humihina ang mga tao pag nagkakaedad? Lalo na, marami tumatawag sa akin, age 50 pa lang. 50 above, 50s. Doon na nagre-reklamo. Sa mga lalaki, mas tumataba, mas ayaw ng tumigas, yan, mas mahina na, mas kung dati kaya 30 minutes, ngayon parang 5 minutes pa lang, mahina na. Sa babae, menopause na kasi, mas dry na, so kailangan nila ng KY jelly para mas madulas. Sa mga lalaki, kailangan more exercise, di ba? Tuturo ko pa yung mga causes, tapos bawas sa alak. ito ang dahilan bakit humihina ang mga lalaki, erectile dysfunction. Pwede rin sa aging, pero marami sa diabetes. Check nyo po blood sugar nyo. Pag ang blood sugar nyo mataas, 5 years hindi na-control ang diabetes, pwede magkaroon ng erectile dysfunction. Sabihin, hindi na tumitigas yung ari ng lalaki. So, baka may sakit sa puso, baka may high blood, baka stress kayo, may edad, naninigarilyo, tigil din po. Yan, nakakahina. Baka may nerve damage sa mga stroke, sobrang alak, mababa testosterone level, wala tayong mga gawa dito. Although may mga gamot na testosterone, konsulta kayo sa urologist. O baka may gamot kayong iniinom. So, dapat lagi kayong fit kahit anong edad. 50, 60, 70 years old, lakad-lakad. Kaya hindi na jogging, lakad lang. Kasi may tulong din yan sa relationship ninyo. Kumain ng tama, yan, dapat tamang pagkain. Huwag yung masyadong mamantika. Tigil sa paninigarilyo, tapos ito yung mga exercise na kailangan natin. Merong mga gamot na binibigay tulad ng sildenafil, yun ang generic, Viagra yung brand name. Ito binibigay ng mga urologists. Maraming klase ngayon merong mas matagal. Actually, may benefit po siya, 'di ba? Yung dating mas mahina, mas lumalakas. So, pag pumunta kayo sa urologist, ireresetahan kayo nito. Pero kami naman mga cardiologists, kadalasan kami yung kontra So, hindi man totally kontra, pero lagi namin sinasabi, kung may sakit ka sa puso, dapat controlled yung heart disease. Kasi kung laging sumasakit ang dibdib mo, umiinom ka ba ng tableta, yung mga nitrates para bumuka yung mga ugat, minsan bawal ito. Baka lalo ka ma-heart attack. So, pakita mo muna sa urologist, pati sa cardiologist, kung papayagan ka, anong dosis nito. Okay? Ang complication possible, merong iba na heart attack, na sumasakit ang ulo, nahihilo. So, check nyo muna. Hindi ko naman sinasabi bawal, pero baka mas mababang dosis at mas maingat lang tayo. Sa mga lalaking may erectile dysfunction, pa-check sa urologist, may blood test, physical exam, sila po magsasabi. Okay? Tsaka last tip nga, lagi kong sinasabi, mas safe syempre sa regular partner nyo, sa asawa nyo. Marami kasi nagtatanong sa akin, Doc, pwede ba dito sa hindi ko kakilala? Pwede ba dito sa mas bata? Ang masasabi ko lang, syempre, decision nyo naman yun, di ba? Baka saksakin kayo ni Mrs. Pero kung yan ang pinaka-choice ninyo, ang pinag-iingatan ko lang bilang cardiologist, yung kaya mo ba? Kasi kung sa Mrs. syempre, less stress ka. Pag doon sa ibang partner na ibang lugar, mas stress ka, lalo na kung 60 years old ka na, tapos may sakit ka pa sa puso, pupunta ka pa doon sa ibang lugar, takot ka pa mahuli, di ba? Pwedeng may mangyaring, meron na mamatay in action. So, dapat fit na fit ka. Okay, so yun lang mapapayo ko. So, sana po nakatulong tong video. So, at any age, 50, 60, 70, 80, merong part ang pagtatalik at sex sa inyong relasyon. May tulong po yon, pampasaya, pampahaba ng buhay, at
If you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation, you need to work out. But you need to work out specific muscles, your pelvic floor muscles. These are the muscles that you use in order to hold in a fart or to cut your urine midstream. Well, we all heard of Kegels, and a lot of women use them, but there's no reason why men should too, because they work. In 2005, there was a study done in the UK where they separated men who had been suffering from erectile dysfunction for at least 6 months into 2 groups. In one group, they had them do lifestyle interventions, diet and biofeedback stuff. But in the other group, they did the same thing, but with pelvic floor exercises. Well, at the end of 3 months, we were already seeing results in the group that were doing pelvic floor exercises. Not only that, but of the remaining 60%, 35% of those regained partial function. All in all, that means 75% of men regained partial to full erectile function at the end of 6 months while doing regular pelvic floor exercises. The first exercise are good old-fashioned squats. Show me someone who has weak glutes, and I will guarantee that they also have weak pelvic floor muscles. When you're doing your squats, make sure that your knees are pointing out and you sit back on your glutes while squeezing them. Always activate your glutes on the entire range of the motion. Go down until your thighs are parallel to the floor, all the weight is on your heels, and then slowly go back up. And the second exercise is all about core. Planks, planks, planks. Hold them for 30 seconds, hold them for 60 seconds, hold them for 90 seconds. Do 6 rounds of these almost every day. These are the most important exercises that you need to do in order to increase your sexual function. Because remember, if you don't use them, you lose them.
Tatag ang heart namin at 50. We take Centrum Silver Advance. May over 25 nutrients like lycopene to help protect our hearts. Keep living the life you love para feeling...
It's the glute medius. It's the one that doesn't really get lumped in too much when we talk about the glutes. And if you're doing that, you're making a big mistake. So what I'm going to show you is just 4 simple moves. You're only going to have to do 2 of them.
For most men and women, round, firm glutes are seen as more attractive than having a flat, pancake butt. A nice looking butt isn't just important for turning heads though. The glutes are a key muscle for athletic performance, and keeping them strong can also go a long way to preventing back and hip pain. The problem is, most people approach their glute training the wrong way. Whether you're chasing the next Gymshark sponsorship, want to boost athletic performance, fix low back pain, or just look better in a pair of jeans, pay attention to the next 5 mistakes, as I guarantee you're making at least one of them. Before we dive into the mistakes, it's important that we understand the anatomy of the glutes. Most people are unaware that the glutes are composed of 3 muscles: the gluteus maximus, the gluteus medius, and the gluteus minimus. As for which of these 3 muscles is most important to develop, let's take a look at this recent 2020 study. Researchers used MRI scans to compare the glute muscles in elite level sprinters, sub-elite sprinters, and average untrained men. Here are the MRI scans of the 3 groups. The big orange area in the back represents the gluteus maximus, whereas these other 2 areas represent the gluteus medius and minimus. You can see just how much larger the gluteus maximus is compared to the other 2 regions. It's actually the largest and heaviest muscle in the human body. And what's interesting is that not only is it a big muscle, but researchers also found that the size of the gluteus maximus was a strong predictor of sprint performance. In fact, the gluteus maximus in elite sprinters was on average 45% bigger than it was in sub-elite sprinters. Since this muscle makes up most of your butt and seems to be the most important region for boosting athletic performance, it only makes sense to make it the focus of your training. But most people fail to do this because of the following 5 mistakes. The first mistake has to do with exercise selection. The primary function of the gluteus maximus is hip extension, the movement of driving your hips forward. Most glute exercises you'll find online either don't train hip extension at all and focus on the smaller glute muscles, or they'll train hip extension but not in a way that enables you to use heavier and heavier weights over time. The best glute exercises are instead the ones that focus on hip extension and enable you to use heavier weight over time. Exercises like back squats, leg presses, Bulgarian split squats, deadlifts, and hip thrusts. They're not fancy, but if you use the right form and get really strong with these over time, they're going to be the key to the glutes growth you're looking for. That said, even with the right exercises, if you don't perform them with the right form, you're going to end up working other muscles rather than the one you intended to. This brings me to the next 2 mistakes, which both have to do with exercise execution. The second mistake is working your quads more than your glutes whenever you do leg exercises. The reason for this has to do with the angle of your shin and the angle of your torso as you perform these exercises. Based on multiple kinematic analyses, the more forward your shin angle is, the greater the knee movement, and the more the quads will be involved compared to the glutes. On the other hand, the more forward your torso is, the more the glutes will be involved, because this increases the degree of hip extension in the movement, which, as you'll remember, is the main function of the gluteus maximus. Now, based on your anatomy, some of you will naturally squat in a way that is already more glute dominant with a vertical shin angle and lean forward torso, whereas others are going to squat in a way that's more quad dominant with a forward shin angle and upright torso. This is perfectly fine, and the glutes will still be heavily involved either way. But in other exercises like leg presses and Bulgarian split squats, we do have a greater ability to adjust our form to better emphasize the glutes. In the leg press, for example, if you were to place your feet higher up on the platform and stop each rep once your knees hit 90 degrees, this would enable your shins to stay vertical over the foot throughout the movement, and will also involve more hip extension, therefore emphasizing the glutes more than the quads. In fact, in muscle activation studies where they compared various foot stances, they found significantly greater glute activation with a higher foot stance and significantly greater quad activation with a lower foot stance. You can try these out one leg at a time as well, and you can also apply the same concept to lunges and Bulgarian split squats. Here I'm performing the Bulgarian split squat with an upright torso and letting my shin travel forward to emphasize the quads more. Whereas here, by leaning forward and taking a slightly wider stance, my shin is able to remain vertical over my foot and I'm able to emphasize the glutes more. Just remember that my back is still neutral. I'm not rounding my back, but rather bending over slightly at my hip. Apply this tip to these exercises and you'll feel the difference right away. By the way, for all the ladies watching, before we move on to mistake number 3, I can speak on behalf of all of us guys who are dying to know the answer to this. How important is a nice athletic butt on a guy? Is it a turn on? Comment yes or no below and share your thoughts. And guys, no matter what they say in the comments, still train your glutes because they're important for so many other reasons. That said, let's move on to mistake number 3. Alright, so we talked about the quads taking over, but in other glute exercises, the lower back and hamstrings actually have a tendency to take over as well. Let's take a look at a great glutes exercise, the Romanian deadlift. Although this exercise will work both the hamstrings and glutes, you can modify your form to emphasize one over the other. If you try to keep your legs completely straight on the way down, that's going to emphasize the hamstrings more. Instead, to emphasize the glutes, you want to use some knee bend. This incorporates more hip extension into the exercise, which, as you know, is the main function of the gluteus maximus. In addition to this, on the way down, many people try to go as low as possible, but you should only go down as far as your mobility allows you to. This is the point at which the hips stop moving backward on the way down. You can see here that once my hips stop moving back, if I try to get any lower than this, my lower back will start to round. This takes tension away from the glutes and places it on the lower back. Instead, try to look in the mirror and spot the point where your hips can't move back any further, and stop each rep as soon as you reach this point. For some of you, this will be around the level where your hands end up around your knees, whereas others will be able to go lower depending on your mobility. Okay, so we already covered what some of the best glute exercises are, but the way that you program these into your workouts is also very important. This is because different exercises challenge a muscle in different ways. Bulgarian split squats, for example, they challenge the glutes the most at the bottom position when the muscle is fully stretched. At the top position, however, there's no tension placed on the glutes. The same is true for back squats, leg presses, and Romanian deadlifts. Now, while these are great glute builders, and while research does indicate that challenging the muscle when it's in a fully stretched position seems to be most important for growth, we may be missing out on some potential growth if that's the only way that we train our glutes. In fact, some research shows that challenging a muscle in different ways may lead to more complete growth in the various regions of that muscle. So in the case of the glutes, a fully stretched position seems to be most important for growth. We may be missing out on some potential growth if that's the only way that we train our glutes. In fact, some research shows that challenging a muscle in different ways may lead to more complete growth in the various regions of that muscle. So in the case of the glutes, we'd want to add in an exercise that challenges the muscle when it's fully shortened, or in other words, at the top part of the movement. Exercises like the hip thrust and the 45-degree hip extension both do just that, by providing little resistance at the bottom when the glutes are fully stretched, and the most resistance at the top when the glutes are fully squeezed. Now, to apply this concept to your glute-focused workouts, I'd recommend picking 1 to 2 exercises that challenge the glutes most at the bottom position when they're fully stretched, and then also include one that challenges the glutes most at the top position when they're fully squeezed. Although picking the right exercises and performing them correctly will set you up for success, some people, especially those of you who sit quite a lot, will still have a hard time activating and feeling your glutes working. One way of improving this is with activation exercises. These are simple exercises that force the target muscle to carry the load so that your nervous system can learn how to use the target muscle and recruit it during your main glute movements. A recent 2022 paper provides some evidence behind this method. They had subjects perform glute activation exercises twice per day for a week, and afterwards found that subjects were able to recruit their glutes with on average 50% more activation during a bodyweight squat compared to before. As for the exercises that I recommend, I'd highly suggest giving this past video I did a watch. It'll cover a quick daily routine that you can do to start awakening your glutes so that you're better able to use them during the glute building exercises we covered earlier. I'll leave a link to this in the description box down below as well, and at the end of this video. Implement these 5 things and you'll very quickly start to feel and see the difference in your glutes development. But it's important that you take the same step-by-step, science-based approach to all the muscles you train if you want to maximize your efforts. For a plan that puts this all together for you, just head on over to builtwithscience.com and take my analysis quiz to discover which of my step-by-step programs are best for you and your specific body. Also, you can click here to give this a video watch next if you need to awaken your glutes, or click here if you'd like to figure out what mistakes you're making with your shoulder training. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
All right, YouTube, I've got a good one for you guys today. The 3 best secrets to make that butt grow. But before I give you those 3 best secrets, let's talk about why most people struggle with this. Now, I've been training clients for well over 15 years.
Sa Jolly Heart Mate Canola Oil, kahit kailan.
You want good cooking oil? I'll give you. Hi, netizens! Welcome to SM Store! Here at SM, we've got it all for you! Yes, dito ngayon ako because I will be exploring the new and improved SM Store dito sa Mall of Asia. Yes! Kaya samahan niyo ako dahil masaya to. Tara! Wow, so ito na pala ang bagong SM Store. Lahat nakikita mo sa isang mata. Oh, kita mo kaagad. Anong ginagawa mo dito, ate? Nawawala ka ba? Ang laki. Kompleto ang SM Store. Alam naman natin, lahat ng kailangan mo nandito. Sobrang komportable. May nakita ko isang customer pagpasok na higa. Hi! These are made from recycled materials. Okay to, 50 pesos lang, eco bag. Kahit yung treadmill, ipasok mo, kasha. Of course, guys, dahil ako ay nagtutour dito, hindi naman basta-basta tour lang ang gagawin ko dahil meron din tayong i-shop price para sa ating mga lucky shoppers. Lahat ng mga nasa-shopping from home, pipili tayo ng mga lucky shoppers at ako ang magiging personal shopper nila. Surprise! Ay! Nag-enjoy ako, nakita kita. Ay, naku! Makeup! Naku, doon, ang dami doon. Ngayon, kasama ko si Ate Honey, ang isang personal shopper. Sa mga hindi kayang mag-shopping, walang oras, pero may mga pangangailangan, kayo ang tutugon, di ba? At kayo rin ang kukuha, bibili para sa kanila. Pwede bang pakita mo sa akin kung paano maging effective na personal shopper? Ate Honey, my love, so sweet. Tara na.
Okay, ma'am. Let's go po.
Let's go. Ba't nasa Facebook ka? Nakita ko. Ang dali ng trabaho mo. Para naging jowa mo na yan, ah. Nakuula mo ngayon.
Kaya naman nag-dogo.
Yes. So, pwede bang tulungan kita? Let's go po. So, ngayon natin masusubukan ang talent ko sa pag-shopping. Makikita natin.
Ngayon, ang hinahanap natin is dining ware na wooden. So,
Wooden.
Yes, ma'am.
Wouldn't it be nice? Yes. Sa mga hilig ko, mga minimalist, taong puti at kahoy. Happy shopping! Mga pang-women.
So, yun. Since ito yung kailangan niya, ma'am. Apat, 4 pieces po.
Ito lang. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Pwede rin silang mag-request gusto nila sale, gusto nila ganito.
Yes,
So, ikaw mag
You've got the idea. GoDaddy has the domain to make it happen. Find your domain at godaddy.com.
me show you a magic trick.
Digging my way, yes, I'm digging my way to something good. Digging my way to something better. Pushing to stay, yes, I'm pushing to stay with something. I'm
Super Shopping Day na! Enjoy Piso deals from Shopee Pay. Piso for 50 pesos load. Piso for...
cannot see that there's not much left for me. Nothing is real but me now. Oh, I'm back beside you. Yeah, always got
Hinahanta mo dyan. Oli. Hinahanta mo dyan.
Well, back 4 minutes more.
Where was going? Up yonder! Get off the shore! Oh my god! I know. Yeah, I have this on video. Oh good, Rita's getting it on video. Oh my, look at how big. Holy crap. And that's where we hang out. Awesome.
Stingray's coming away, look.
Yeah, Stingray hug. And they're smart. That's what they've been after, stingrays. That's what they like. Where was going? Oh shit!
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.